presented by Dano's Seasoning. Yum yum, get you some.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate. From the first kick to the last pitch. Here with me, as always, is the great Mr. TJ Corman. How are we doing tonight, TJ?
I am good, man. I'm good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. As I told you, recovering from the flu and COVID shot. But other than that, I can feel my arm again. So
yeah, well, that's good news. I'm recovering from about a week-long cold. I still got a little bit of congestion going on in here, which is why I wasn't on here last week. But things are starting to, get my bearings back under me.
Nice. Well, we had Trojan Joe come on and do a little trash talking for us. So that's always, a great time, as always. And the other great Mr. Artie Cat himself saying hello. What's going on, Artie Cat? Thanks for jumping on, as always. He gets back to a little bit of a localized football for him down there in Texas as Texas State returns to the field this weekend. Before we get too much further along, do want to thank collegefootballdogs.com. Be on the lookout. There's a lot of really cool stuff coming with the Maxwell Football Club. They've just launched the new website. We are a bigger and stronger partner, officially getting a lot of members from College Football Dogs to join the Maxwell Football Club. You too can become a member by signing up at their website. That will give you the ability to vote on some awards and certainly the College Football Dogs / Maxwell Football Club's top 25 poll. So if you want to be included in a top 25 poll yourself, just pay a little bit of money and you can be part of college football history as they continue to try and build up where they left off with the awards and trying to keep that momentum going during the football season. As always, on top of the screen or in the description of the show and streaming on the banner below, thank you to our sponsors, Dubby Energy, Fanplex Graphics, TSN Off Road, and of course, Dano's Seasoning. Put a little Dano's tonight on the mac and cheese and Brussels sprouts.
Nice. Mac and cheese and Brussels sprouts can never go wrong.
No,
I wasn't a fan of Brussels sprouts a while in my youth, right? Because I feel it reminded me of baby cabbages, which is weird because I like cabbage. But idea of baby cabbage just made me feel weird. But now in my adult life, if you crisp them up real nice and make sure they're seasoned really good, Brussels sprouts can be a pretty delicious treat. Yeah.
Oh man, I've had them so many different ways at this point. They're one of my favorite veggies because versatile, I guess is the word I would use for Brussels sprouts.
And
but yeah,
high in fiber.
Yeah, that's true too. And I was trying to teach my son. He didn't really like the Brussels sprout by itself. So I was trying to teach him, mix it in with the mac and cheese. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
That is fair. Pretty much anything mixed in with mac and cheese will work.
That's true. Bacon, ham, hot dogs even.
Yeah, anything. Anything you want to put in the mac and cheese, put it in there.
Hot sauce, barbecue sauce, it's all good.
Yeah, it all works.
Yeah, man. Not a bad thing that you can throw into mac and cheese. That's a really good point to have there. All right. We'll jump right into the power rankings as we typically do. Lots of thoughts on social media about some of our positionings. TJ, they were a little harder on your side, as I shared with you earlier today.
Yeah. Listen, so for me, it's not losing, right? It's how you lose. And I think there were some obviously JMU, if JMU is not your number one football team, then I don't know what you're looking at. Because 70 points against Carolina, 70 points against anybody, 70 points against my son's flag football team is still a lot of points. So I don't care who you play. 70 points is a lot. But moving down, obviously, App State crapped the bed, horrendously. I think maybe, South Alabama could have possibly been a little bit higher on my board, but I'm going to leave them where they are just based on what we've seen from them in the beginning of the season. Now, we've got a long way to go. Right. There's still a lot of time to be moving up the rankings. I think where a lot of the tragic, comments came was my 2, 3, and 4 slots, and rightfully so. Right. I did like. So again, like I said, we talked about earlier, it's not losing, it's how you lose. And so, Louisiana losing to Tulane wasn't as bad as, some other teams losing. So I'm defending it. It could be There could be some tweaks along the way. I'm not really necessarily mad. Our top 4 are the same. They're just in different order.
Yes.
So,
drastic either.
Yeah, and really our top 5 outside of Arkansas State for me are kind of the same team. So put them where you want to put them, but that's kind of how I have it right now. Some losses that weren't as bad as other losses that are in there. And I know Texas State, I think, had a bye week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's hard to get penalized when you have a bye week. So I get that.
I think that's one misconception that some people are making, right? Like, don't look at every move as we move them down some of the moves up, I would say most of them are because there was something that they did. Although, there's a couple here like Troy and Georgia, like Georgia State didn't play and they moved up in both of our polls, but that's more of like South Alabama jumping ahead of them, I think, at least in one of ours, and other teams moving that caused them to actually move up or other teams to move down. Like, someone asked why, Texas State got punished. But it's like, well, they didn't get punished. That just the reward of someone else jumps them.
Exactly.
They automatically move down. There's nothing else we can really do.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I guess so. I think a lot of App fans thought that my ranking of them at 12 was okay. Was probably where they belong and stuff. So you have them at 8. What do you? And here's the thing that I was seeing a couple places. You have South Alabama, who hammered them at 7, and right behind them is App State at 8. So again, that's probably not. You didn't go in predetermined that you're going to rank them like that. That's probably how they just stacked out. But what is your reasoning by only having them one spot behind, I guess?
So I guess the reason for that is because initially I think I had App State at like the 4th or 5th slot, right? Initially last week.
Yes.
And so my reasoning for that is I dropped them down another 4 slots, right, to the 8 position. And so for me, and then I had South Alabama, I think at like 11 last week. And that was based on who they didn't have at quarterback. And then I see what they look like with their starting quarterback, and so it wasn't so much putting them back to back on purpose. I actually didn't even notice that until right now. It was more of it was actually more of, okay, if you're at number 11, you get your starting quarterback back. What does that look? Can you beat JMU? No. Can you beat Deshaun Clears? Probably not. Maybe you can beat Louisiana. Maybe you can beat Texas State. There's a maybe in that 1 through 6 slot, in my opinion, based on how I've seen them play so far this year. And that's why they landed at 7 for me. It's because, 2, I'm honoring record. And so that's just kind of how it all ended up. And to me, as far as App State at number 8, if I lined App State up right now, am I confident in App State? No, absolutely not, based on what I've been seeing. But do I think they could beat Georgia State? Yes. Do I think they could beat Marshall? Probably, but Marshall gave Ohio State a pretty good game. So who knows? ULM, I think they could beat. Troy has not been Troy lately. So I think they could probably beat Troy, and certainly ODU and Southern Miss with no wins. They're obviously ahead of them. So that's kind of my reasoning behind where they are. They probably got a little bit more love for me than they should have. But we'll see how this week plays out, and there could be some drastic changes coming soon. Yeah,
definitely could be. Yeah, I think for both of us, the Jags jumped up quite a bit. I think maybe I had them as high as a 9 or 10. So they jumped up about 5 spots. I just thought, App did not play a good game, but I'm also rewarding South Alabama kind of once they got Gio back and played like this. I mean, there was no letting off the gas. They were impressive from the start to the finish of the game. And I thought that deserved rewarding. The other part is, had this game been in Mobile, I probably would have thought a little less. Something happened with the travel. Maybe App players didn't feel well or something. When you do this to App in their home stadium, that's impressive to me. And I mean, let's face it. We're all watching that game going like, we knew we're out of it. Like after the first couple scores, it's like they're not coming. Sure. They're not battling back. Sure. They quit. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were texting during the game, and I told you, and I think I put it on social media. I'd never seen an App State team quit playing football. They stopped playing. Towards the middle to the end of that third quarter, they gave up. And I've never seen anything like that out of any App State team. And I was honestly ashamed of the performance that they put out. And quite honestly, they should be lower today based on just quitting alone. But I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt, and we'll see how we go next week. And if there's not some improvements, we'll probably talk about a little bit more about this along the way. Right. But there's got to be some changes, if not wholesale changes, to this team going into next year.
Yeah, we'll see what's in store there. We had some rumors about Will Hall even already, but it looks like some of that stuff's been cleared up about why that probably won't happen, at least right now. We'll get into that maybe a little bit later.
Money talks, man. Nothing matters in game 4 of the season. Nothing matters right now.
Yeah, and that's a very important aspect about what kind of is behind the fact that Will Hall is still the current head coach at Southern Miss at this time. But we've seen it before. We've seen App do it. We've seen Troy kind of do it where it's a bad start and they hit their stride and then they end up in a championship game or at least going on a pretty big run to at least make a bowl game and then win the bowl game and everything feels fine, right? I mean, Sean Clark's kind of done that too, right? Where everyone, just a year or two ago, that same kind of thing was happening, sneaking up on him, where he's hearing the rumors, I'm sure, and then he goes out there and just gets it done. So the possibility is there. If they win against Liberty, a lot of things are going to change for the better, right? You beat a 4-0 team that was supposed to beat you, but we'll see. Before we move on too much farther, sauerkraut. I'm not personally a fan. TJ, what do you feel about sauerkraut? That's
I despise sauerkraut. I won't eat it.
Same.
I won't eat it.
Do not enjoy it.
Where does it even go on? I've seen people put it on hot dogs. I've seen people put it on bratwurst, and I'm just you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay without it. Give me a slaw. Give me some slaw, chili, mustard, ketchup, a little bit of onions. I'm good.
Yes. All right. Well, we're the same in that. That's the exact same thoughts I had. So, not a sauerkraut fan. Just the smell of it is not. Not something I desire. Ben James saying, "What's up, guys? What's going on, Ben? Thanks for joining us. What's going on, Dominic? Thanks for jumping in here. Good timing, man. We're gonna get TJ's breakdowns on. Go. All right. This one is the first of this last weekend's action that we're going to see. This one pits Louisiana up against Tulane with Ben Wooldridge hooking up with Jaden Johnson, and we'll let TJ kind of take it from here. Again, first time full motion, and then we'll slow it down as he completes his description of what's happening here.
Yeah, so if you look at it initially, you're looking at it looks like too hot, right? And then you'll see if you're the good quarterback, which he is, you'll see your safety start to roll towards the middle of the field and your other safety roll down. That tells me cover 3. So what the play design and the thing that's genius about this play is, right, you take your number one receiver who's on the outside. You take him and you're looking at cover 3, right? And he's going to, if you roll the clip, Dominic, he's going to take that corner and he's going to roll and he's going to take him out of the picture. Right. And so what looks like happens is your slot guy, it looks like he's going to run a out route or sort of a route to the flat. And he's going to turn his eyes back, right, which sells the flat route. And then he's going to run a wheel right behind it. Well, there's nobody else there because that corner's out of the picture. And so you're looking at a 20, 30-yard gain based on just coverage. So it's a great play design. And what you're doing is you're taking that corner out of the picture, and there's nobody left to cover this area here around the 30-yard line because the coverage isn't designed for that. And you've got your linebacker rolled up over that slot receiver because he's got flat responsibility, right? So he buzzes out, boom, and then that quick nod, and it's a quick throw, which is great, gets him right where he's supposed to be, and it's just pitch and catch from there because there's no corner to hold anybody accountable over it. So it's a great play design. Great route, first of all, great eyes to the backfield, really selling that flat route to the wheel, and good job getting open. Yeah,
that was I love that one. I was like, how did that guy get wide open? Because as most of us as fans go, we're just like seeing it at the last second, right? Like all of a sudden this guy's wide open with the ball. So how does it happen? And brilliant breakdown in there, TJ. This next one comes from the JMU UNC game where Terrence Spence gets the punt block here.
Yeah, so this is just about math. I have more guys on this side than you have the ability to block. I've got 6 guys lined up on 5. And so what ends up happening is obviously you want to protect inside out, which is what Carolina does. North Carolina protects inside out. They've only got 3 guys on the line of scrimmage, right? Carolina does. When this guy motions back in, they've only got 2 guys that are personal protectors behind it. So if I'm counting my JMU guys, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So I've got 6 guys right now that are playing against 5. Well, they do what they're supposed to do, which is block inside out. The problem is somebody's going to be going free. And what happens is it looks like that guy's is a corner or slot corner or something because he's kind of quick and he gets around there untouched because there's no one left to block him. And so this is just, that's honestly just simple math. I have more guys than you can block on one. And I've seen that run before against Michigan, cough, cough. And when we just put, you just overload a side and that's just smart special teams coaching. I'm going to give you more guys on one side of the ball than you can block, and we'll see what you do with it. 5 against 6 generally does not work. So, and that's what ends up happening here. You got a guy running free, untouched, and he times it up perfectly. Gets a little contact with the punter, but that's okay. And then you just get touchdown city, and it was a lot more of that from JMU. We'll get into that a little bit later, but JMU poured it on like hot butter.
Yes, they did. Okay, this last one makes us cringe a little bit, but again, we're going to give credit where credit is due as Gio Lopez hooks up with his tight end Webb here for the catch in the game against App State. Again, first time full speed, and then we'll break it down a little slower.
Yeah, so you take you got your I guess slot guy or your flat receiver. He's running out. App State right now is running sort of a zone. So what ends up happening is they take that inside receiver and run him across the field or run him sort of on an inside route. So he's occupying that safety. Well, this corner at the bottom of your screen, he's going to have to go out and check up with this with the motion guy, right? So watch the guy go in motion. Your corner is going to have to honor him because if not, he's going to be wide open. And so what that does is that leaves a hook route or a curl route, a hook route, however you want to call it. That leaves that wide open because safety's got to get back, right? And he hooks up right over the ball, right over that first down marker, and there's just a flat zone there. So it's a great play call, and then just poor tackling. Just absolutely atrocious tackling. There's 4 guys there. That's 4 guys, 3 of which get a hand on his jersey, and nobody can bring him down. So not only do you catch it for 13, you turn it into about 17 or 18 because guys can't tackle. And that's been the story of App State all year is can you and we'll get into this, like I said, a little bit later, but can you tackle the football? And right now they just can't. But this is, that's perfect ball placement, perfect route running. And then look, 1, 2, third got to 3. Come on, that's 3 missed tackles. Yep. He runs that for an extra 7 yards because our guys can't tackle. That's inexcusable. That's poor defense, and that's poor tackling. And that lets me know that you're not practicing tackling during the week, and that's inexcusable.
I'm going to freeze frame it right where I feel like they should have made the tackle where he shouldn't have gained a single extra yard. Well, let's go right there.
Yeah.
How do you gain any extra yardage right there? One guy should have brought you down, but you can converge all 4 of those guys on that guy and not have him have a single extra yard. But instead, he gets out of all 4 of them. All 4. 2 hand tackles.
17 doesn't even try to make a tackle.
Nope.
He doesn't even try. And it's just it's poor. It's poor on all ends. It's not good football. And right now, we are suffering from lack of effort. There's some coaching issues that we're having as well. Because, a lot of times they say you can't coach effort, and I get that, right? But certain coaches make you want to play for them. And right now, I don't feel like these guys are wanting to play for Sean Clark. And that's no shot at him. Right. I don't want anybody to take it that way. It's not anything personal, but his guys are not playing for him right now. They're not giving maximum effort.
And as part of that portal guys, it's just – you didn't come up in that, like TJ, when you were there, nobody really transferred in and out at the rate and the numbers that they are now, right? You might have had a handful of new guys a year, it feels like, maybe. It feels like you could have, not feels like, we know there's rosters out there with 20 plus, 30 plus guys that are brand new. So it's like half a roster of new guys. Does that have any?
That has nothing to do with effort. right? If you want to play, you want to play, right? And that's the thing. Are you going to play for the guy that's leading you? And that's the thing that it's kind of irking me the most, is because I would never question somebody's want to when it comes to playing football. You put padded jerseys on, you're out there, and you really want to play football, and I get that. But the effort that I'm seeing, that is effort football. Defense is all about want to. It's about effort. It's no different than blocking. It's no different than really anything that you're doing on the football field. Sometimes you might run a wrong route. Sometimes you might get a holding call. Sometimes those are things that I can live with. But missed tackles and people just 17 not running to the tackle, I can't live with that. Because that is effort. That is want to, and that's you not doing the job that you're assigned to do. And that will get you beat 100% of the time.
That's a good point. It's very true. One thing we wanted to also jump into here is our players of the week. And just like last week, where we had 2 Georgia State players, this week we've got 2 JMU guys. Shocking, right? When your team wins 70-50, right? So yeah, I mean, this just is what it's going to be there. But yeah, Alonzo Barnett, the third against UNC, 22 of 34 for 388 yards, 5 touchdowns. Oh, but that's not all. He also rushed 13 times for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. So 7 total touchdowns on the day. Easily, far and away, the guy leading that team on the field on Saturday, and also the Sun Belt as a whole. The only one that was even close for recognition otherwise was Devontae Ross from Troy, who continues to just put up amazing stats. But you're not going to beat this week, especially when you get that victory over a power team. If you want to call UNC a power team, they always underperform there. But this is our guy, and I don't think there's going to be any qualms from most people about picking him as our offensive player of the week, just like the Sun Belt did. And then defensively, it's a little bit of a different twist. Again, we don't really give out special teams here. Terrence Spence was the special teams player of the year for the Sun Belt, or the week. I keep saying the year. For the week for the Sun Belt. We have him as the defensive player because he had 4 total tackles, 3 solo, 1 kick block, which we just saw TJ talk about in the breakdown, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 interceptions, with one of those being a pick 6, a tremendous day overall for James Madison on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Yes, they gave up 50 points, but this kid went completely off and just had himself a day. Again, on special teams, on defense, he probably could have taken offensive snaps and done something with the ball. He was doing his best Travis Hunter impression as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he looked spectacular. I mean, if you look at that stat line, I mean, that's a full day. That's a day's work. You know what I mean? And that, I mean, 2 interceptions, one of them touchdown. I mean, 3 solos, 4 total. I mean, that stat line right there is that'll win you football games. That stat line alone will win you football games. You get 2 guys doing that. I mean, come on, you're hard to beat.
Yeah, and you had O'Neal on the defensive line aspect, who I was kind of looking at a little bit, but I was like, man, they did allow 50 points, but this guy's like scoring points. So, it's well,
and honestly, the bulk of those points came after halftime. Yeah.
Well, they scored 53 of them at the, they were up 53 to whatever at the half. I can't remember what UNC had at that moment. Yeah, what's funny is being there live, like, you could see JMU running out of steam, but yet they still kept attacking. I think far too many times, I don't want to hark on this too much because this is last week now, or we're trying to preview the upcoming week, but just to give another, credit to Bob Chesney and his staff, because he's come out and said it. They wanted to be aggressive. He said, I've played non-aggressively before and I've regretted it, and that's not going to be me anymore. We're going to go for it, which was evident after he blocks this punt here and they score on the touchdown. Not even the ensuing kickoff. First, they go for 2. They get the 2-point. Then they go onside kick, recover the onside kick. I was like, well, I'm sitting there in the stands like, oh my God.
Yeah, he's putting nails in coffins. That's for sure. That's for sure.
There is no doubt about it. That's exactly what his plan was, and it worked to perfection. UNC came really storming back right after that. And then from there, it was like that was the only burst they had left. Everything else was just trying to catch up to what the Dukes were doing on the field to them. And that place was eerily quiet except for JMU's contingent of the band. I don't think it was their whole band because I'm pretty sure they have one of the largest bands, and they weren't as big as they usually are, but they were loud. The fans there were loud. It was definitely not the numbers App State has had in that Kenan Stadium there in Chapel Hill, but still a great turnout for the James Madison crew, and well done. Very, very well done. So I think we have some comments I want to catch up on. Ben James had called Tulane winning. Yeah, unfortunately, they got the win over the Raging Cajuns. That's not a slouch of a team, though. So really good there. He did call JMU up against UNC. And Dominic was asking about the defense in the JMU game. Yeah, it seemed rather optional. But again, we had some players that stuck out. It's just UNC's got some players, too. Almarion Hampton, TJ knows about him. We've seen him live and in person against App State. It was shocking to me, right? When you see the score and how it played out, he still had like 138 yards. I would have never known that watching the game live because he didn't feel as big of a factor because of what JMU was doing offensively. So just absolutely insane that someone goes off for that much yardage at a running back position who's been doing it all season, and you don't even really notice it happening because of what JMU was doing on both sides of the ball there. And Ben James is saying he's glad Arkansas State has a bye before South Alabama. Yeah, anybody's going to need a bye against South Alabama, and we will talk about. Oh yeah, absolutely. So week 5, we are here. The first matchup is James Madison against Ball State. This one gets us kicked off at 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central Time. Ball State just 1-2 coming in. And obviously, James Madison, after that big victory, a perfect 3-0. But they had some struggles. So, TJ, is there any pause or concern? Ball State comes into Harrisonburg and kind of early on shocks them, or you think they could have any shot at winning this game? What are your thoughts here on this one?
I got JMU by a mile. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be rather close. And quite honestly, I think the experts agree with me. The spread is 21 plus 20, or excuse me, minus 21 JMU, 57.5 total points. Listen, the way JMU played last week, they might want to up that a little bit, because I think they can score 50 by themselves. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be any problems at all. I think Barnett's going to go, nuts against Ball State. I don't think Ball State really, and I've seen them play once this year. Defensively, they don't have the defensive backfield that can really match with what JMU is doing from a pass perspective. They threw the ball all over the yard against Carolina, and Carolina's got some really good defensive backs. I don't think Ball State has even anywhere close to that as far as their defensive prowess goes. I think they're going to be able to run the ball very well. I think in all phases of the football game, JMU should dominate, and I don't think this game is going to be particularly close.
Yeah, I would have to agree, and I'm going to lean on the fact that you're looking at a 1-2 record, but that 1-2 record includes a win over Missouri State, who is kind of coming into their own in the FBS, but they only won that game 42-34, so not a great victory, but obviously
that's
a victory.
Point on defense, yep.
Yeah, and then Miami, no one in the world would have expected them to win, but they went down there and they didn't even score a point. They got shellacked 62-0. And then Central Michigan, who's also not a great team this year, they go and lose to them 37-34. So, yeah, I don't have high hopes for this matchup for Ball State. I do have high hopes that JMU can keep it rolling. However, I will say, they have the ability, as we've seen, to put up a ton of points. I wonder if they maybe aren't as aggressive because they, maybe don't feel they need to be. And it keeps not the game plan necessarily conservative, but the scoreboard a little more conservative than what we saw. Like the need that they need to have explosive plays all the time to like shock, a power team. Like they don't feel that same need, but it'll be interesting because Chesney said he's not going to kind of play conservative.
I was getting ready to say, based on what Chesney said and based on what I saw, it looks like he's trying to put foots on throats. And it looks like if that's happened, if that is in fact the case, because listen, JMU has a point to prove. They lost damn near their entire roster last year, right? So they're looking to prove a point that we can rebuild, we can restructure, and we can retool. And so if that is in fact the mindset and the case going into it, every game for them is a statement game. And if I can beat you 50-3, then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to beat you 50-3. And so, honestly, I think I'd be shocked if JMU didn't put up 40 points. I'd be absolutely shocked.
Yeah, no, I think 40 is definitely realistic. I just don't know if another 70 banger is on the way, or it could be. It would not shock me at all. It's just I could see it just being a little bit more of a, hey, we don't have to go crazy here. Like, our guys are a little tired from last week kind of thing still, but we'll see. Again, I don't think it's going to be a close game. I'm not saying that at all. I just, maybe not as aggressive and going after punts and all that kind of stuff, but
Sure.
We'll see. Artie Cat says, I have an old late night at Ball State t-shirt with David Letterman, who went to school there. Yeah, for those that don't know, the most famous alum far and away from Ball State is David Letterman. So pretty interesting fact for those who did not know that going in. It's one of the weird facts that I do actually know. The next game up on the slate for the Sun Belt this week pits Texas State against Sam Houston State. And to note, this is a neutral site game at NRG Stadium in Houston. So expect big contingents for both fan bases, really. And also to note, Sam Houston State 3-1 coming into the season, with Texas State being on the bye last week. They come in at only 2-1, but this may be the matchup of the week. We've got one with the two Georgia schools, which may take precedent because a lot more people are familiar with it than this one. But what do you think about this one, TJ?
So I'm kind of two ways about it, right? Because Sam Houston State, so they played in the 3 wins that they had, they scored over 30 points in all 3 wins, right? So can they score? Absolutely. I don't think that Texas State is going to be as weak of a defense as they've seen. I mean, they beat New Mexico State, they beat Hawaii, and they beat Rice. Like, I'm not impressed by those wins. Now, the one loss that they did have was a considerably bad loss, if you want to call it, at 45-14 against UCF. Now, UCF is a very good football team down in Florida, so it's kind of hard to kind of figure out and take away things from that game. I don't know what Sam Houston State team we're going to get. I do know that they can score the football. That said, though, I don't know that they're as high-powered of an offense as Texas State is. And if I've got to bet my money, which I don't want to do, but if I had to bet my money, I'm going to bet my money on Texas State being able to kind of keep up with the scoring. Texas State has got some outstanding skill position players. And yes. I think that Sam Houston is going to have hell on their hands with defending the entire field, because you've got to defend sideline to sideline when it comes to those guys, because they can stretch the field. And by the way, they can run it up the middle with that outstanding running back. So listen, I think if I'm a betting man, I'm going to go Texas State's going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be a 35-10 or 40-15, those kind of games. Right. I do think it'll be kind of close. But I think in the end, Texas State pulls it out by 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, that's what I agree with you. The spread, I don't know if you mentioned it, but it's 8 points in favor of Texas State. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole because, like you said, they could win by 7 or they could win by 3. And I just don't know if I trust it just enough. And part of that is because of what we've seen from them earlier this year with, Lamar 34-27, a little bit of a shocker as far as how close that game was. UTSA, they exploded for 49 points, and they defensively looked fantastic by only allowing 10. So absolutely great job. That was kind of that JMU UNC type of game where you're just like, what happened? Because last week you didn't look like this at all. And then they came out and looked great against Arizona State, who was looking great until last week, obviously. But they only lost that one 31-28 with a great chance to win that one at the end. So, yeah, I mean, I do favor Texas State for sure, partly because we do what we do here as Sunbelt fans. But I also think that they should be able to beat and get by Sam Houston State. But yeah, I do have a little pause of concern about putting money on this one for any reason. So I would shy away and not give any expertise on that one. But Artie Cat's got some interesting things to share. He says, this seems like a game pushed by the Texas State University system for our 125th anniversary. That being said, from 1915 to 2011, we did play 93 games, known as the Battle of the Piney Woods, which I didn't previously know. I knew all about.
That's a nice bit of history.
Yeah, it is. And I knew all about the I-35 rivalry with UTSA, but this one seems like it's older. It's just probably gone away a little bit because Sam Houston State was in FCS and Texas State had left a while ago. But this one should have a great atmosphere. Being inside at NRG Stadium there in Houston, it's going to be a big field game down there in Texas for sure. It's also pitting the Sun Belt up against Conference USA yet again. So definitely don't want to lose that one for that reason as well. So we'll see what happens in this one. Again, I think both of us favor Texas State, but we are cautiously optimistic on what the scoring output might be as far as point spread goes in that one. Okay, lots of question marks, but lots of thoughts and feelings on both sides of the ball on this one, really, as Liberty comes into Boone on Saturday, an undefeated 4-0, and App State comes in a surprising and, for some people, shocking 2-2. This one's on ESPN Plus at 3:30 kickoff. I don't know, though. I will say, as much as Liberty comes in undefeated, that 4-0 record does not scare me as an App State guy. I don't know what you thought about that, TJ.
Yeah, I mean, Campbell, New Mexico State, UTEP, and East Carolina, right? We've already beaten East Carolina, so we know that that's a team that we can beat. Now, I will say the point margin has been pretty high for for Liberty, right? They've scored 35, 28, 30, and 41. So they can score the football. And one thing we know is that we have porous tackling at this point. So I am sort of worried about their ability to score and put points on the board. It doesn't scare me, though, right? Because I think that offensively we can kind of stack the boards against them. Well, I think it's going to be one of those games where it's a very high scoring football game. I got to look at what the point spread is, what we're looking at. Liberty by 3.5. So essentially, and they're saying total 62.5 points. So 30 apiece is essentially what they're saying. I think that's about accurate, right? It could go 30 apiece in either way. Listen, my heart says App State better win this football game. My mind says that Liberty can certainly go in there and cause some problems for us. So we've got to figure it out. We've got a lot of things that we got to figure out, specifically on defense, and more specifically on that defensive line. We have not stopped a run in 2 games. We have looked, just absolutely putrid against the run. And so while Liberty comes in at 4-0, like you said, Dominic, those 4 games are not very impressive wins. I'm not overly excited about those wins, and us beating, I think their best win was against ECU, and again, that's another game we won. So I'm not entirely worried, but I am a little bit timid, right? We've got to put on a good show, and we've got to get our act together. Otherwise, if we lose this game, this could spell disaster for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think you can pretty much put any thoughts of a rebound and a rebuild. You don't really do that during the season, but any kind of rebounding for a big, good jump back to get back on track for the season to bed if they lose this one. Because you could still do it, but to me, like, the morale is going to be just demolished and crushed if you come, especially if you get hammered in this one for some reason. Like, that's absolutely cannot happen. You almost don't want to lose this one in like a walk-off field goal fashion either, though, because then it just is a dagger to the heart of what you feel like.
Yeah, we need to leave no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Neil says we can't keep doing this as an App State fan. He's worried about us more than them with no running game, and the defense is a bunch of question marks. Yeah, Artie Cat is saying, step it up, App State. Please don't lose to Liberty. I've seen that sentiment. It's funny. We've got App here. We've got Liberty on the screen. We had JMU just a few minutes ago. It was a lot of Sunbelt fans actually happy to see JMU go in there and crush UNC because of the thoughts and feeling towards a lot of that fan base from the App State faithful for sure. But it seems like it's being reciprocated this week from JMU to be pulling for App State against Liberty because they can't stand that fan base or that team. So it's kind of interesting how like rivals and heated, matchups within the Sun Belt are actually still kind of teaming up. And it's kind of what makes this fun when you see those types of interactions, like just trying to make sure you take care of business on the field yourself there. To me, like App State has gone, they've alternated win-loss, but in those games they've scored 38, 20, 21, and 14. So they are kind of consistently scoring. The problem for me is like they haven't had that offensive outbreak. Could that be this weekend and kind of surprise again, just like a la JMU did last week, where they hadn't had that scoring kind of outburst against Charlotte or Gardner-Webb, but suddenly they have it against a power conference team in their home arena. Nobody saw it coming. I wouldn't talk to JMU fans at halftime. Yeah, no one. They were all blown away. Every single one of them. Not a single one was like, I knew we could do it. We could put it together. They were all pleasantly shocked and surprised, obviously. But no one was like talking crap and trash before the game about how they were going to, just demolish UNC. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to see that type of thing happen in Boone this weekend. Now, the weather is going to be a massive factor. I mean, there's a possibility this game gets canceled altogether because of how bad the weather is going to be. Apparently, Avery County, for those familiar with the geography up there, has already canceled classes on Thursday and Friday because of how much rain they're going to get. I mean, they're talking like mudslides and not good things if they get, the 15 inches of rain or whatever craziness that you're supposed to get for like the accumulation of a month's worth within a day or two. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm supposed to be making my way up, so tentatively excited, but we'll see if that ends up happening because of what's going on. Have you already gone over the Georgia State and Georgia Southern game? We have not. We have not gotten to that one. That's going to be a big one that we do get to, TJ. So we will grab that in just a few minutes here, and let's see. I don't think it's the next one. Maybe it is. No. We have one that's actually taking place only about an hour and a half at the most down from Boone there in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, as Wake Forest plays host to the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana. Cajuns come in 2-1, again, undefeated before that loss to Tulane last week. Wake Forest comes in a disappointing 1-2, but I wouldn't say shocking at all. TJ, you've probably seen Wake on the local television, of course. We've obviously seen some looks of what the Cajuns have on the field this year. What are you thinking in this one? Who are you favoring?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm favoring the Cajuns, and I'm going to favor them, obviously, with my heart, but also my head, because I'm looking at the wins that the win that Wake Forest has had against North Carolina A&T. Now, they did manage to score 45 points, but they gave up 13. Now, the game against Virginia was pretty tough. It was kind of nip and tuck the entire game. I don't know what to make of Virginia yet, and so I'm on the fence about how good of a loss, if you want to call a loss good, but how good of a loss that might have been. And obviously, they were supposed to lose against Ole Miss. I mean, that is what it is. So I don't know what to make of Wake Forest right now. Their win that they had, they were supposed to win. The two losses that they had, one of which could have gone either way. The other one, they were supposed to lose. So I don't know what to expect out of them. That said, though, if I'm looking at, Louisiana's schedule, kind of the same thing, right? Grambling, Kennesaw State, and then they lost to Tulane. The game they were, again, a game that they could have kind of went either way. And the two that they won big, and they were supposed to. Only gave up 10 points. So it's kind of a battle of two teams that did exactly what kind of should have happened, if you want to call it that, to this point. I think athletically, the Cajuns are better as far as top-line athletes. I think the difference is going to be if there's any injuries and who gets tired first, right? Because if the Cajuns get tired first, Wake Forest, obviously, from a recruiting perspective, this, their first and second lines are going to be a little bit different than the Cajuns' second line. So I'm picking the Cajuns, obviously, with my heart. But again, I think, just based on pure talent, I think Louisiana can pull this one out.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the ground game there with kind of a two-headed running back tandem so far. Bill Davis really come on strong here in the later weeks, and Perry was kind of the workhorse back at the beginning of the season. It feels like now they're both kind of equal there. Not a crazy amount of touchdowns. There's 3 total touchdowns between the two of them, but I do feel like they could help establish that run game. I don't have any fear about what the Cajuns can do defensively against the Wake Forest offense. I don't feel like that Wake Forest offense is very explosive from what I've seen. I mean, nothing statistically really jumps off the board and makes me go crazy. I was kind of double checking everything. I mean, they've got 2 wide receivers in Morin and Green that are fairly good, but again, 2 touchdowns between the two of them so far in the season. So again, nothing's really jumping up and making me think like it's going to be tough to contain these guys. They'll have struggled to do it. But you're right. I mean, kind of the expected expected outcomes for Wake Forest so far and reasonable expectations of what could happen for the Cajuns so far. So it's hard to say anything like really drastic in this one. Did you say what the point spread was?
I did
3.5.
Yeah.
I mean, but one thing I will say this, I honestly believe Tulane is probably a better football team than Wake Forest. And we saw how close the Cajuns played that game. Yeah, and they could have won that game with less turnovers. They could have won that game against Tulane. I mean, not saying like, oh, just one thing, but, a couple very small changes, and that game goes a different direction. So to me, I feel like they just played a tougher opponent last week, so they're going to come up. The hard part here is the travel, once again, just being an hour south of Boone. All that hurricane weather is still going to affect this game as well. Mm-hmm. So who does that favor? Well, again, on the ground, I'm favoring the Cajuns because I feel like they've got the better running back tandem between the two teams and expect them to get it done. But, yeah, I mean, I'd be comfortable putting a couple bucks down on Cajuns covering on that one. But
you wouldn't be mad about it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Dominic says Cajuns win, I think. Yeah, I mean, again, Wake Forest just doesn't scare us.
Yeah. Wake Forest is not the team that you look at and you say, we can't beat this ACC team, right? Like, I mean, there's about 5 or 6 of them that I feel that way about.
True. I think people are all feeling about that way about UNC after what they saw last week.
For sure.
Oh, man. And already saying that, down there in Texas, it's already making killer waves, which has been great surf for this weekend. So, yeah, that's
being a guy from the beach, I've never surfed.
Really?
Never surfed. I'm from Atlantic Beach, and I've never surfed ever.
Let's be honest, though. All North Carolina beaches would struggle to really surf well, though, right? I mean, they're not.
Well, sure. I mean, that's fair. But I'm just saying, I'm one of the guys. Now I'm, knee boarded, wakeboarded, and all that stuff, but never gone surfing.
Yeah, I've never been surfing either. I would love to try it because it looks insanely hard. So you feel like if you even got up on the board a few times, you'd feel accomplished. But yeah, never done it myself. So, okay. Here's the matchup TJ was asking about. Dominic, by the way, saying I'm from Miami and I never have either. So yeah, it's probably just something you really have to. Yeah, you got to be committed to, I guess, just to get into it and dive in. Okay, the Battle of the Blues, the heated, the hated. They're calling it the Georgia Grown matchup, which is like, I don't know, it's not the worst name, but like, just talk about the hatred, please. I know Georgia State put out a statement saying, please don't talk about the hatred. They got torn to shreds for that, TJ. I'm not sure how much of that you saw online.
I did not see that, but yeah,
they were like, yeah, it's like the politically correct stuff. Like, oh, please we don't hate anybody. We don't focus on the matchup. We have this new name for it. It's like, just call it what it is. It's good old fashioned hate. These people don't like each other. They're from the same state. They both think the other one can't win the game. It's what football is, I mean, like, keep it on the field and not in the stands, but come on.
Right. And it's North and South Georgia, right? You got Atlanta versus the South, right? I mean, it is exactly what you want it to be. Savannah is a team and a place down there in I say country, it's not necessarily country, it's on the beach. Right. But it's a place that they take pride in the athletes that they have around there, and they try to recruit from around where they're from. And so a lot of these guys have played against each other in high school. A lot of them know each other personally. So it is going to be a game where they're going to try to show each other up. I mean, I think personally, if I've got to pick a guy or pick a team or a standout, I'm going with French. I mean, French he's got almost 1,000 yards passing right now on the season. Yes. It's only been 3 games. Right. And he's got 6 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Right. Yeah. So he's averaging 2 touchdowns a game. Only 1 interception on the season and almost 1,000 yards. So if I got to pick a guy that's going to just go completely off, I'm picking French from Georgia State, Georgia Southern. And I think, honestly, if I've got to pick with my head, I'm thinking Georgia Southern's going to pull this one out.
Yeah, I mean, nothing would shock me because this game is always unpredictable, right? Like, sure. It seems like every time, and this is an early season matchup for what we usually and typically see out of this matchup. I feel like it's usually at the earliest, like mid-season or later. So this seems rather early this year. I'm not quite sure if they've ever played earlier. I'd have to look that up. I didn't do that. I should have done that. One thing I did want to bring up, though, is the overall standings or a record, I guess I should say, in this. Do you know who has more wins in this rivalry?
In the rivalry, no.
If I told you someone was up 6-4, who would you think it was?
I would absolutely think it was Georgia Southern.
It is Georgia State, 6 wins to 4. Again, this is, I mean, and what's crazy is some of these games have been like, well, actually, most of them have been close, but there have been some blowouts. And I think one of the times in 2015, for example, Georgia State goes down to Statesboro, and Georgia Southern was favored in that game. Georgia State wins that game 34-7. You know, it's just like, it's one of those things where like you just don't, like, you never know what to expect with this. And we'll get to some of the comments here, because again, this is the biggest matchup in the Sun Belt as far as conference games go for by far, and it's at least one or two, probably one for the hatred aspect across the entire spectrum of Sun Belt football this weekend. Chris Bolton says, Southern, not State. Hate that we are playing against a coach who should have been given a chance to be our head coach, which, yeah, interesting. Very interesting aspect of this game. One that I hadn't really thought of a lot, but I had heard, you know, where he came from and what he had done before going to Georgia State there. TJ says, Georgia State has done some questionable things with this one. Isn't allowing Southerners true blue tailgate this year and won't sell parking online. I didn't know about the parking online.
You know why that is, though, right?
No.
Georgia State struggles to fill their own stadium.
Yeah.
So,
well, that part I didn't know.
Well, and so Georgia Southern travel. You know this as well as I did. Georgia Southern travels. They're going, and so they know that they put that online, and if they sell parking online, that is going to be filled with dark blue.
Oh yeah.
And so that's the fear that Georgia State has, is they don't want a game, and especially an interstate rival that's going to be a sellout crowd that is mostly not yours.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the case, though. We both know that's going to happen. Artie says, this is a good game. Do they have a trophy for the winner? And then before we could even answer, he answered his own question. He did some research. That's what we love about Artie. He doesn't just sit idly by. He's actively participating. He says they do. It's called the Commissioner's Cup Trophy, which, yeah, I mean, again, the fact, too, that they've only played 10 times. Georgia Southern did win last year, by the way. They won 44-27. So that one was a little bit of a blowout fashion there. But yeah, I just don't know how confident I am in Georgia State just yet. Yes, they had the good victory against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not as amazing as some people may have thought after that quick start that they had. And Georgia Southern's been pretty impressive. To note that one interception that French has thrown came against the number 5 team in the country, Ole Miss.
Yeah, not a big right.
Yeah, and other people have pointed out Georgia Southern's the first team to score a touchdown on that Ole Miss defense all season.
Yeah, and also Georgia Southern put up 45 points against a really good Boise State football team. Now, they gave up 56, and that happened. But they put up 45 points. That tells me that they can score the football.
Yes, and TJ's coming back saying Georgia Southern has bought most of their tickets. Stadium will be mostly Georgia Southern as long as it doesn't get canceled. I'll be there. Yes, again, sadly, yet another game where we've got to think about that being a real concern, unfortunately. Chris is saying our right tackle is the only player to ever transfer from one to the other. Yeah, that's an interesting aspect on that. I did not know that part. So that is another really interesting aspect. I mean, you've got Kevin Swint and Abraham over there on the linebacking core. You've got Vaylor here at the quarterback position. They've got some people that have made some plays and had some games. Can they put it all together? Because I feel like that's what it's going to take for Georgia State to step up and win this game, which will, like you said, TJ and the other TJ, that this will feel possibly more like a home game for Georgia Southern. Right. If the weather's not too much of a factor. I mean, if the weather's really bad, I could see a lot of people just bowing out and saying, I'm not making the trip when I got to sacrifice my safety on the roads. And that's the unfortunate part that we will have to, battle across the spectrum of games this weekend, unfortunately. So let's get back to this one real quick. We've got Georgia State as the 3.5-point favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like I said, I'm picking Georgia Southern to win. Again, point total is 58.5, so we'll call it 59 points or 60 points if you want to call it that. I think both teams are capable of scoring 30. If you're talking 30-28 or 31-28, either way, I'm not going to be surprised, but I'm going to pick Georgia Southern.
Yeah. The only pause or concern I have as far as picking Georgia Southern is kind of the running game. I still haven't seen, kind of like App State so far. Like, it hasn't been explosive. It hasn't been super impressive. Now, Jalen White pictured here is a great running back. But
yeah, I was going to say that they may not have to. I mean, the way Fridge is tossing the ball around the yard, sure. I don't know that they have to run the ball as effectively as we think they should.
Well, and not only that, but, ever since Helton's been there, they have been an air raid offense. They haven't been predicated on the run like the old school Georgia Southern teams of the past. So we did know that was not going to be, a massive focal point. But as a tool to help, further that spread look and getting downfield a little easier, I'd like to see it be a little bit more successful to force you to maybe stack the box and some short yardage things and catch somebody surprise over the top. But we'll see. I mean, this game, I think this one's going to be fun to watch because I think there's going to be a lot of aggression and going for everything they can. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be like this JMU UNC type game where it's like you're going to have to stay aggressive to win this game. You can't sit back and react because you're going to lose it if you sit back and do that. Yep. TJ says, would like to see us stop the run and not give up over 100 on the ground. I mean, Georgia State's the kind of team I feel like you could stop on the ground and have some success there. Where they could beat you is at the quarterback position because he is capable of getting out of the pocket, scrambling for yardage that way. Artie Cat say the official name is the Georgia Grown Bowl instead of Modern Day Hate. Yeah, technically it was the Modern Day Hate. I knew it was hate in the title. I couldn't remember the exact title. Modern Day Hate, and now they're going with Georgia Grown Bowl. Modern Day Hate just sounds so much better.
Way better. Way better.
Way, way, way better. Yes. Okay. Now we've got Georgia. Oh, I'm stuck on the Georgia stuff. Western Michigan coming in at 1-2 with a mirror image of one another, and Marshall also sitting at 1-2. This one also on ESPN Plus at 3:30. This one's kind of like an older rivalry. I don't know if it's a rivalry. Older matchup they've had.
A toss up for me, man. Listen. So they both have got losses to Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do, right? And then there's Wisconsin for Western Michigan. They lost to them, and then for Marshall they lost to Virginia Tech. So it's like, both losses are Power 5 losses, or I guess now Power 4 losses. But then the wins are Stony Brook and Bethune-Cookman. So what are we doing, right? It's literally, like you said, they're looking in the mirror at each other. These are two teams that are extremely evenly matched. I think, what's the point spread? What are we looking at? -3 for Marshall.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's fair, yeah. I mean, and the game is in Huntington, West Virginia. So, listen, It's at Marshall. I'm going to go with the home team. I'm not solid on this pick at all because I'm looking at two teams that look just like each other. So you're certainly not making me bet my money on it.
Yeah, that's true. One you could stay away from. I'm going to tell you why I'm not shying away from Marshall covering the spread and winning this game. Maybe not real easily or real comfortably, but by like 7-10 because of two guys, AJ Turner and Mike Green. AJ Turner has been really impressive on the ground so far this year. You didn't put up the statistics you'd hope to see last week. Also, he went against Ohio State's defense. So, again, like you said, what do you expect in that outcome? Had he put up 100 yards, they would have stood a much better chance to stay in that game a lot longer. But Mike Green got into the backfield numerous times against Power 4 competition. So I think he's going to have some success. This Western Michigan quarterback, Wolf, has thrown 2 interceptions, so he's not like a turnover machine or anything, but he is capable of turning the ball over because he's only thrown 3 touchdowns. So the threat of him, beating you with the arm doesn't seem to be great.
Sure.
And I trust this Marshall front 7 to keep them in check on the ground too. So I think Marshall wins this one by the spread or more. But 7-10 at least is what I'm thinking on this one. But you're right. I mean, otherwise mirror images of each other with what they've done statistically coming in and also their schedule as well. So, and Artie was mentioning they are old school MAC rivals. So goes a little back a little bit further back than I clearly remember with the MAC aspect. But yes, they did match up quite a bit over there. He says, never sleep on the Western Broncos. Yeah, I mean, they could be dangerous. We've seen them be dangerous in years past, but I'm taking Marshall. Yeah, I am taking Marshall. Okay, I don't have high hopes for this one because I'll let you talk about this. What has Bowling Green done against competition of really good competition so far this year? And then we can compare that with the 0-3 record of ODU.
Yeah, so they put up 27 against Penn State. Penn State's ranked 8th in the country. They put up 20 against Texas A&M. Texas A&M is ranked 25th in the country. And then they beat Fordham. Fordham is Fordham, right? 41-17. What that tells me is that Bowling Green can score the football. They've got a really good running back pictured here. And they've got a fairly high-powered offense. Now, you flip that over, ODU is the opposite. They've got a really good defense, really good defense, right? So offensively and defensively, these teams match up really well. The problem is ODU's offense is not very good. It has not been. I mean, they put up 19 against South Carolina, 14 against East Carolina, which App State handled pretty well, and then 17 against Georgia. I mean, they haven't scored 20 points all season. Yeah, and it's not okay. And so, respectfully, you and I were really high on ODU last year, and they did some really good things. I got to go with my football mind here. I'm taking Bowling Green.
Yeah, I don't think we were not high on ODU coming into the year, but as the year went on, right, we got higher and higher and thought their expectations for this year were really good.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, and towards the end of the season last year, we were really high on them coming into this year, and it just has not panned out.
No, and it doesn't make sense because we weren't the only ones, right? I mean, Wilson was coming back, a veteran quarterback, did fairly well last year, thought that, another year in the system, some returners coming back. They did lose some offensive pieces, so that's obviously playing an aspect. But you've got some good wide receivers there. I mean, we had you break down the film after week 1 against South Carolina where Page goes for that huge touchdown against them. So, they have weapons, but they need Wilson to play better at the quarterback position. They had 2 freshman guys split time in their last game, and then they had the bye last week. So maybe they've come out and they've reworked a bunch of stuff offensively. I'd love to see it. But again, Bowling Green has been playing phenomenally, and they've just been playing really tough competition, but they've been scoring on that tough competition and keeping it close. And so it wouldn't shock me to see this one get out of hand because it's also being played there in Bowling Green. It's not like they're traveling down there to Norfolk. And this game may actually get completely played because it's in Bowling Green and not as close to the hurricane stuff, although they'll probably still see some rain down there because I think
a little bit. Yeah,
I believe Bowling Green, Ohio is still kind of southernish. I don't know. It might be up closer to Columbus or something, but
the thing that worries me the most about ODU offensively, ECU threw 2 interceptions against ODU. Was it 2 or 3? I think it was 2.
I think it was at least 3 because in the first 2 weeks he threw 7 total interceptions and one was 4 and one was 3.
Okay, so 3 interceptions. They threw 3 interceptions against ODU, and they only managed to score 14 points.
Good point.
Only 7 off of a turnover. You know what I mean? And that, to me, that tells me that your offense is not fit. It just isn't. If my defense hand platters me, the ball inside of the opponent's 50-yard line, I'm going to at least get 3 points out of that. That means twice they did not even score a field goal out of those 3 turnovers. That I can't confidently go into this saying that ODU has any kind of an edge offensively, and Bowling Green has put up really good points against really good football teams. I don't think ODU wins this game, and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked. And I think you alluded to this earlier if it got out of hand.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Unfortunately, I agree with you. I mean, the only thing that I have hope for is that ODU can keep them in check defensively. But even if they do that early, it's going to wear on you if your offense can't stay on the field to get them some rest, right? Because the more that they get run out there and get tired, the less they're going to be good at stopping you even further down the line type of thing. Jag Nation Radio guys jumping on saying, howdy, fellas. Yeah, we're going to get to Al's chances against LSU here in a few minutes. Artie Cat is saying Bowling Green quarterback has thrown for 672 yards versus no no conference team so far with 3 touchdowns. Not too shabby. Yeah, I mean, probably the most impressive 1-2 team in the country.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the credit to the teams that they played, though, right?
Yes.
I mean, when you take a look at their schedule, Penn State and Texas A&M, and you manage 20 and 27 against both of those teams, you're not doing too bad.
No, this is a team that I would favor to come out of the MAC at this point. I mean, I know a lot of people were really high on Northern Illinois. I was never high on them. I don't know how the hell they got put into the top 25 with 1 victory against a team that is every single year vastly overrated in Notre Dame. I mean, it's a great victory for them. I'm happy for them and proud that a group of 5 team got a victory like that. But I mean, I never truly believed that they were going to go on this magical run. We know the MAC's not easy to win. We've played a bunch of MAC teams in bowl games, right? So, yeah, I was never as high up on Northern Illinois. But this team right here, I have a lot of trust in this team. And unfortunately, again, against the Sun Belt team this week, I'd be picking against us in that aspect. Okay, another conference matchup as ULM matches up against Troy. ULM, who would have said this coming into the season? ULM comes in with the winning record at 2-1. Troy comes in with the losing record at just 1-3, but they are getting hot at the right time. I feel like they competed very well against Iowa, which is a very strong defensive team. They put a pretty good offensive outburst there and played pretty well defensively. And then they came out and beat Florida A&M, who's a feisty FCS team in the Rattlers. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in this one. How much of that ULM Texas game did you stay tuned in for, TJ?
Maybe halfway through the second quarter, and then I turned it.
You stayed longer than I did.
Yeah, it got bad. It got bad quick. But I mean, look, you're talking about Texas, who is in the driver's seat to win a national championship. Them in Georgia and Alabama. So I mean, you're talking about teams that are really, really good football teams. So but listen, ULM has they beat Jackson State, pretty good win. They beat UAB, fairly decent win. The thing that I'm impressed with is that they did what they were supposed to do. Scored 30 and kept them from scoring, right? Now, Jackson State scored 14. Jackson State is a pretty good football team. And, there was a little bit of a legacy left behind from Coach Prime, right? Some of those guys that are there are really good football players. And so they did what they were supposed to do against those teams. Again, they were supposed to lose against Texas. All the other teams besides maybe 3 in the country are supposed to lose to Texas. So I'm not entirely shocked by that. Then if you move over to the other side of the bracket, you're watching, Troy. I mean, he lost to Nevada. Very, very close football game. Memphis is a tough team. Memphis is one of those teams that, could be on the brink of that 12th spot, right, in terms of the college football playoffs, them and Boise State. So I'm not surprised at that loss. And then they scored 21 points against Iowa, whose Iowa's traditionally had a really good defense. So, look, it's kind of one of those games that could be a toss-up. If I got to bet my money, I'm going to bet it on Troy, just based on what Troy has been traditionally. But I've been fairly impressed with ULM to this point.
Yeah, I've been fairly impressed with them. And I will tell you right now, I am looking at a black screen, so I can hear you, and I think we're going along swimmingly. I can't see anybody's comments.
Well,
I'm just going to be up front. So if anything looks weird or anything, I think I can keep everything else rolling. I'm working blind here, but I can see myself in the camera, so I know that's still on, and I can hear you, TJ. So we'll just roll along. But yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say that I'm trying to see more out of is General Booty at the quarterback position for ULM. Sure. I knew we weren't going to see anything, drastic or major against Texas. It just wasn't going to happen. We knew what we had coming into that game. Unfortunately, I was hoping it would be a little bit closer in the first half, I guess, but you knew ultimately where that was going to head. I just think Troy is kind of, like I said, kind of opened this one up, is kind of coming into their own. Now, do I think they're the Troy from the past 2 seasons? Absolutely not. I don't think they're there yet, but I think by the end of the season, they could be looking a lot like that, because I think they have the talent on the roster and they've got the head coach in place. It's just whether they're putting it all together at the right time or not. But yeah, I mean, they're playing at home in this one. Goose Crowder's kind of warming up there. Again, Ross is just you're not stopping him. So how much does he score and how many yards does he go for is really the big question mark there. ULM's biggest game so far is just pounding it up the middle with the running backs, and Hardy's kind of the lead back at that point. I don't know how successful you're going to be trying to do that all night against this Troy defense as they continue to kind of evolve and get better along the way. So, yeah, I would favor Troy in this one. And what's the spread? Is 7.5?
Yeah, I got 7. Troy -7, and I think that's about accurate, right? I think honestly it could be anywhere from 7 to 13, to be honest, based on what Troy trots out there defensively. Like you said, Ross, I mean, he's got 26 receptions for 500 yards and 6 total touchdowns on the season. It's not one of those things where he's going to be easy to stop. So if Troy gives us any resemblance of a defense, I think offensively Troy has enough firepower to kind of put ULM out pretty quickly. I don't want to say quickly, but certainly put them out by midway third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. It should be Troy's football game. Now, you're not going to make me bet any money on it based on what I've seen from Troy so far. That said, though, I think you and I both agree Troy should win this football game.
Yes, absolutely. I do think that they should win this football game. And I think, again, the guy pictured here with Ross, you stop him on special teams, stop him on the field, but you're not, slow him down, I guess, is what your best bet is, because you ain't stopping him.
No, that ain't happening.
Phenomenal talent. All right. Saturday night, the nightcap, SEC Network, 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central. South Alabama, a shocking 2-0 in a good way here lately, goes into the other Death Valley at number 14 LSU, who comes in at 3-1. Do we continue to see an explosive offense for South Alabama, or do we think the Tigers can slow down the Jaguars in the Battle of the Cats?
Yeah, so look, South Alabama's had a pretty good run to this point. I don't want to sound like a homer being an LSU fan, but this is a different ballgame. I played in that stadium. I know what goes on in Tiger Stadium. I don't think this is going to be particularly close. I think LSU should win. Now, that said, I think LSU might have a little bit of a problem with South Alabama's quarterback. I don't think he's fast, but he's certainly hard to bring down. He's a tough tackle, and he's very accurate with the football. So I do think he's going to make some good plays. I just don't think that it's going to be enough for them to keep it close. I think it might be close maybe halfway through the second quarter of the football game, but I don't think it's going to be one of those games that you're going to look at this and say, oh, man, South Alabama. If you look at the box score at the end of the game, you're going to say, well, that first quarter is probably pretty close. Second quarter, they kept it, and then third and fourth quarter is probably, you're going to look at it and say it was a runaway. LSU with Gus Nussmeier, I think, right now he's got 1,247 yards and 13 total touchdowns to 2 interceptions.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's kind of insane, and I don't think that the Panthers are going to have enough defensively to stop him or even slow him down. Yeah, that's the question, right? I mean, South Alabama's defense has kind of come up along with the offense here lately, but you haven't seen anything like the Tigers' offense as of yet. So it is going to be tough to stop. Now, I think this could be one of those score fest things, though, if Gio Lopez can just get loose and play like he has been playing. But if the Tigers can bottle him up, it's going to be a long night. I'm hopeful, though, that that's not the case. I hope he continues to look a little like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson while he's out there, beating him with his legs and with his arm. And Bothwell continues to just blow me away as a true freshman running back. We saw him against App State and what he did there. Incapable of going down, essentially, especially on that one touchdown run that he had. And then Pritchard at the wide receiver position. Yeah. A lot like Ross. I mean, he's probably right there when neck and neck, 1 and 2 in this conference as leading receivers go. And that's going to be the thing, the wide receivers, the tight ends getting open for Lopez, because if he becomes one-dimensional and only can beat you with his feet, then again, that's going to be the tough aspect. LSU is not going to allow you to just run all over them. It's like you said, you've played there, you've been there, you've gone up against the athletes that LSU continuously puts out there on the field. It's not going to be easy, but I would love to see them, go into half with South Alabama leading this game somehow. I mean,
how many people would just start talking. Could it happen? Is it really possible type of thing? And probably a lot like people saw the scoreboard when you guys went into Michigan and were leading at the half, and they're like, what is going on? So
yeah.
I think a lot of people might be tuned into the SEC network if this one's close early on, because a lot of people are going to want to see how that one goes down.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be checking back and forth on the game. Like I said, there's a bunch of other games going on that I'll be watching and staying in tune to. But I think this will be one of those games. Like I said, listen, it'll be for South Alabama. It's going to be one of those things where they come out and they give them their best punch early, or they come out and find out that they're overmatched and they kind of tuck their tails. And and I hate to say that because I don't ever want to call any team a quitter. But you as a coach, you know what you have, right? You know what you got, and you don't want to get, you've got a lot to look forward to this season as a football team, and I'm not going to get my best guys hurt trying to make a statement against a team that we're down 21 going into halftime against.
Right. Yeah. Just not the situation you want to be in for sure. We have wrapped it up for the week with our technical difficulties, but this was a fun one. I hope everyone enjoyed it. TJ, we got any last thoughts, feelings, concerns before this weekend?
No, man. Listen, like I said, I want our App State team to put a good foot forward. We have got to find a way to tackle people on defense. I mean, this, and I talk to you about this in great detail. We text almost every single game. I don't know what the deal is with this 3-4 defense. I don't know what point he's trying to prove with it, but it isn't working to this point. And we've got to make some changes. And if not some changes during the season, at the end of the season, there's going to be some wholesale changes made that I don't think he's going to be very fond of. So we need to figure this out. We need to figure it out quick. And we need to get back to winning ways. And I was talking to my college teammate and roommate, Devin Moore, about it. He said, you know how spoiled of a fan base we are. We've lost 2 games this season, and we're already calling for a coach to get fired. We are not calling for Sean Clark to get fired. We just need some changes to be made, and we need to win and win better.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to improve, right? It's just not the normal thing. But I just hope we get to see some football this weekend. Again, I get more and more concerned with what my wife told me about the weather. So I just hope it happens. Even if I don't get to go to a game, at least hope to see some on TV. But it seems like everything's going to be up in the air. We're gonna have some ugly weather games at the very least. But hopefully, we can get at least most of these things in. Yeah, I guess, guys, that'll wrap it up.
See you guys. It sounds good.
See you guys.